But May Day 2013, what's the big issues for the union?
Well, the big issues are, you know, some people forget what May Day is about, but it's a day to enjoy yourself, look at basically over the forthcoming year, what you've really done, what you've achieved, what your ambitions are as a workers' organisation. Recognise the fact that people across the world couldn't even sit in a demonstration or have meetings. They would be trampled upon, shot, and you know, history tells us that people were shot. That's the reason why the original May Day was set up. But over the course of the next year, there's going to be massive attacks on working people. The employment tribunal was issued, that comes into force from July the 1st. We're in a financial burden on workers that will need something like 1,500 quid just to get in to the ring of having a tribunal hearing. And then secondly, on top of that as well, from next year, compulsory arbitration, which will mean them sitting in ACAS for days upon days before they even get a certificate to go to an industrial tribunal. So they're the attacks that are taking place on working people. And if you go right the way through all those rigmarole, the maximum compensation will be from July is £72,000, which sounds not bad, or a year's wages, but whichever's the least, not whichever's the most. So you see the massive attacks that are taking place. And what we've really got now is a government in place, a coalition government, who's got an ideological hatred for working people. They want to smash not just the question of national bargaining, pay and conditions, but destroy everything that the welfare state was about, looking after the underprivileged in society and a fair distribution of wealth. And also what we've got is opposition in the form of New Labour, who are saying nothing, who just hope to get elected, in my view, on the basis that the other people score enough own goals against them. And of course you've got all these wannabe prime ministers like UKIP, who got no illusions about them. Their leader was standing outside the museum in Grantham supporting Margaret Thatcher. They support privatisation of near enough every asset we've got. So be under no illusion what UKIP are for. They're not a party of working people. They're a select group of people that look after the rich and the bankers and so on. So until we actually get a group of people that are prepared to roll their sleeves up and fight on behalf of working people, then the only thing that stands in the way between slavery and decency is an organised trade union. So I think the message should be, as we go through the forthcoming year, that there are major attacks, and the only way we can defend ourselves is collectively is to be in a trade unions prepared to fight, and also get the TUC to call a general strike. I mean, it's absolutely madness. We've had 2 demonstrations now, which have been fantastically supported. The government hasn't listened to that. So either you're just going to carry on having the boot being put into you, or you stand up and fight. In my view, that we should stand up and fight, and the TUC should call a one-day general strike as a starter, not as an end, to get this government to reverse its policies of attacking not just people in work, but the unemployed, the people on incapacity benefit, attacking people, pensioners, and all strands of society.
But we saw after Margaret Thatcher died, the old right wing of the Tory party raising its head again and calling for even more anti-union laws and banning strikes on the transport sector. What's the union's response to that kind of stuff?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, they would love to ban strikes. I mean, the reality is that any democracy is judged, in my view, by the freedom of its workers. And they've restrained workers in this country ever since workers had the right to take action. I mean, don't forget, even if you have a ballot for strike action, it's still illegal to take strike action. It's still a breach of contract. So you're breaking the law anyway, whether you've had a ballot or not. And secondly, on top of that, the employer still has the right to dismiss you. That can't be right. People say that you can't be dismissed for the first 12 weeks. Well, you can be dismissed for 12 weeks. It just means that you've got the right to go to an employment tribunal and receive compensation. So that's the state we're in. And of course, as the economic position gets even worse, then they need to make sure that the only form of real defence is unions, is to try and smash them. That's what Mussolini did, that's what Hitler did, and that's what most right-wing governments do and dictatorships do, is that they want to smash any kind of opposition. So we've got to dig in and say that we're not prepared to accept that, and sooner or later, if they do try and ban people to take strike actions, then people have got to turn around and say that we need to defy that law. Because it weren't people defying the law 150, 160 years ago, then we wouldn't be sitting here today and having the right to organise a trade union.
And it's International Workers' Day. There will be protests all the way around the world, and particularly in parts of Europe, in Greece and in Spain, in Portugal. countries that are really under the cost from the EU austerity. What's our message to those groups of workers as we're out on the streets of London and other parts of the UK?
Well, workers throughout the world will be showing their solidarity for other workers, and we should recognise the fact, that these workers now, for example, in Spain, there's 27% now of workers unemployed. That's not 16 to 24-year-olds. 27% of the Spanish population now are on the dole. We've got swathes upon swathes of people unemployed. Well, I salute those people, the people in Greece and Portugal and Ireland and other parts of Europe, but also around the world as well. And don't forget, the only reason that Hitler got into power was mass unemployment. He recognised the fact that he wasn't elected by a coup d'etat. He was put in there, and how did he get people back to work? He got people back to work by rearming, building a motorway, and then building auto cars to go on the autobahns to put people back to work. It's a shame that people didn't recognise the fact that the only way that we get people back to work is a massive programme of social housing building. Not a massive programme of house building, because that would just go straight to the private propertiers who will make even more money. What we want is 1 million homes built, there's 1 million builders on the dole, and we could put those builders back to work, and that would create the energy to get people back to work.